Hey, welcome everyone to a special episode of Crime Off the Grid. I'm Tara,
And I'm Nancy.
and joining us today are the dynamic duo behind the Locations Unknown podcast, Mike Vanderbogert. Did I pronounce that right?
That's pretty good.
Okay. And Joe Irado. Did I pronounce that right?
You did.
Awesome. Two guys who spend their free time wandering in the woods and asking, hey, where'd everybody go? And they turned getting lost. They've turned getting lost into an art form and a podcast. And so Mike and Joe use their decade of backcountry experience to explore mysterious, unsolved disappearances within North America's wilderness. The show blends elements of true crime, such as unsolved mysteries, with the adventurous, survival-focused style of Survivor Man. Is that still a show? I don't even know.
He's
And
still around.
Oh, that's a guy. Okay.
He's been surviving.
All right. And you guys delve into cases of people who have vanished literally without a trace in remote and treacherous environments. So grab your compass and your best conspiracy theory. We're going off the grid with Locations Unknown. So welcome to the show, Mike and Joe.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. That was
Oh my gosh.
awesome intro.
It makes it really good about what we've been doing.
Well, no kidding. Yeah, you're big time. So we're very honored to have you here on the show with us.
Okay, guys, before we get started, though, what made you guys want to do this, start this podcast, Locations Unknown?
It started back when Joe and I did a lot of hiking together. We would be out in the woods and you would sometimes come across a missing person sign, or
Okay.
someone in the ranger station would say something about an eye out, if you're out there. And we would always, there's not a lot, you don't get cell phone reception at night when you're around the tent, kind of start talking about different stuff, different disappearances. And I actually kind of got into the missing 401 books years ago, kind of sparked my interest initially. I started a website that just tracked missing persons.
Oh, wow.
And then
Okay.
Joe and I were at a bar one day and we're just talking about it. And I think Joe's like, hey, maybe we should try just doing a podcast and no one might listen, but we'll have fun.
I always call this thing Mike's baby because you started the website. You were telling me all about it because you were really excited about that. And I wasn't even into the 411 books until you told me. After that, I mean, it was definitely based off of when we go hiking. They're like, oh, you're going to be on this trail in Glacier? Well, 3 people went missing last. So if you see anything, let us know. And
Right,
we're like,
right.
"Oh, what the heck happened to these people?"
Yeah.
Or as you so
Yeah.
eloquently put it, we walk out there and go, where is everybody?
As we dug into the cases more and more, we kept getting cases where it was beyond just someone went out into the woods and got turned around and wasn't found again. It was cases where someone would be in a group of people. They might be lagging behind on the trail 20 feet. Someone looks back, they're there 1 second. 5-10 seconds later, they look back again and they're gone.
Yeah.
And they never find any gear. They don't find any tracks, nothing. So those cases are really kind of what
They're wild.
they're wild. I mean, there's
Yeah.
still, a lot of cases they're like, what could have possibly happened? They were there and then gone. Like, so it's some of these cases are so fascinating. And I think that's why you've seen an explosion in these kinds of shows. When Joe and I started, there was no one really doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like the first outdoors true crime specific in the genre.
Blending that together. Yeah. Now it's really grown into a huge part of podcasting.
It's kind of surprising that people do continue to like and listen and watch our show because the end is usually the same. And it's
We don't know what happened.
we don't know.
What do you think?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, they're fascinating cases and I love talking about them. And Joe and I, we've been doing this now since 2018 and like a long time.
6 years.
More than that.
19, 20, 22, 3, 4, 5.
Carry the one.
Math.
Yeah.
I'm good at math,
Yeah.
counting good.
But no, yeah, we enjoy doing it. And we love all the new shows that are cropping up, especially a show like yours that comes from more of a perspective of people that have worked in the park, which is really interesting. That's obviously something we bring a different perspective to a lot of these cases, but we're excited to be here with you, both of you today, because you both bring a very unique perspective to cases like this.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Hey, can you share why we're actually affiliated in some way? Can you
Oh, yeah.
explain why we're sort of
I have no
affiliated
idea
now?
what you mean. Yeah. So part of our growth is we've been trying to bring shows like ours together to form kind of like a co-op in the podcast space. So we created Unknown Media, and essentially we host you guys and help potentially bring more ad revenue to your show and to the network, but just in hopes of, we believe in game theory, and that is there's more than enough room in this space, so we don't need to be fighting each other for listens. We can share it, because what we found is people who like these styles of shows, they listen to all of them.
Yeah.
They'll listen to
Right.
National Park After Dark and our show and your show. So we're trying to figure out ways to bring everybody together and see if we can't all profit off of a much bigger pie than going independently. So
Yeah, yeah.
still
Yeah.
in the beginning phases of it, but it seems to be going pretty well right now. I don't know. You guys seen a bump in your numbers?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
we have.
we
Yeah.
have, thanks
Well,
to
that's
you
good.
guys. Well, what are the other shows that are our brothers and sisters? Who are they? Share with everybody. What other shows should they be listening to?
We have. All right, go ahead.
Oh no, I would say we have Off the Trails, which is it's a similar show to ours, but it's with two female hosts. So, sometimes people prefer male hosts, sometimes people prefer female hosts, and they have their own angle on it. So it's a similar show, but it's not the same. And people that have liked our show have kind of also gravitated towards their show because it offers kind of a different listening experience. We have Peanut Butter and Mountain Podcast. That's another great. He's actually got a pretty big following on YouTube.
Yes.
And then Weirdos We Know. That one is kind of more of a historical, not exactly in our wheelhouse, but it's a really interesting show about strange stuff famous people in history kind of did behind closed doors. Very fascinating. I'm surprised at some of the weird stuff people do.
Yes.
Yeah.
That show's not for kids.
And then, Who Runs This Park, which is it's kind of an interview style show where she interviews lots of park superintendents and people that are in the outdoor space that either run organizations or outdoor companies or are involved in the parks. So it's a really informative show if you want to learn about kind of what goes on in these parks and that space.
Yeah, I'm
And then, of
surprised she
course,
gets
Crime
people to
Off the
talk
Grid.
to her.
Yeah, and then Crime Off the Grid.
Yeah.
Well, I will say Nancy and I, we generally only cover cases that have been adjudicated or have an ending. So
That's smart.
We're-
Good strategy.
that's my brain is really hard to wrap around, like researching. So that's kind of hard what you do. I think researching cases that, where people are actually missing, and it's actually a really good thing that you do. And it makes people think, and maybe especially if you go to a park and I just heard about this one guy that's been missing for 2 years. And anyway, it's hard for me to wrap my head around the research for that. So thank you for doing that. And we'll just stick to our conclusions.
And one of the cool byproducts of Joe and I covering cases like this is every so often we might cover a case that happened 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And out of the blue, we'll get contacted by the spouse or one of the person's kids or another family member. And they'll just, they'll thank us for continuing to get the message out. Because a lot of
Yeah.
these cases, most of them are unsolved. And the family really just wants anyone and everyone to talk about them as much as possible because they're hoping maybe somebody hears it and is hiking out there and finds something.
That was
Right.
actually the most surprising to me.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it when we were first starting. You kind of get nervous. You're like, we're telling the stories of people,
Yeah.
especially
Right.
families that have had tragedy. You don't know how they're going to react. And we're kind of like waiting with bated breath. Like, are we going
Yeah.
to get a bunch of hate mail from family members? And
It's not always friendly.
it's not, but I mean, I can think of one or two out of
Yeah.
150 cases. I mean, normally we don't hear anything.
Yeah.
But the majority of them not only reach out, they've sent us gifts sometimes. Like
Wow.
it's really neat. It makes us feel better that we're doing it. I think the big thing is too, we try and not disparage people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if there's people
Right.
that have made some dumb mistakes, because we all make really dumb mistakes. And I think a lot of us are lucky enough to get out of our dumb mistake.
yeah.
So we're not the type of people who are going to just crap all over somebody for
Yeah.
screwing up and then becoming missing in the woods or having a tragedy.
No.
So
yeah.
being respectful is always key. But yeah, it's been overwhelmingly supportive, and that's been surprising.
Yeah, it's a real
Yeah.
fine line you have when you're talking about someone's loved one who's still missing and they have no closure, no remains even found. There's a real fine line you have to walk to not be disrespectful, but also at the end of the day, we're providing entertainment. Kind of sounds dark, but so Joe and I try to always be respectful about the subjects, but also Joe and I we tell people how we act in the podcast is authentic. That's how we are in real life. So we try to just be, who we are. And so sometimes we'll get comments from listeners that we're joking around too much during an episode. And I think people miss the point. Like, these are really dark topics and subjects. And, if we're talking about a location, we might crack a few jokes. But when we get into the timeline and talking about the missing person, we try our best. Once in a while it probably happens, but we try really hard to be respectful of
You're right.
everyone
Right, yeah.
involved. And, if we talk about things like suicide, we try to provide, we provide the numbers people can call if someone's experiencing that. And it's a real fine line, especially in this kind of topic, because it's understandable. People can be real mad at you and you're talking about one of their close family members that went missing, and, they're emotional about it. It's understandable. And so, yeah, that's probably the nicer thing about doing cases that have been gone through the legal system. Emotions have probably cooled off once the whole case is done. And
There's closure.
There's some kind of closure, I guess.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
And the same with Nancy and I. I feel like we come at this like you guys do with humor, and a lot of people I think gravitate to these types of shows because there's humor in it, because they are dark topics. And it's too hard to get through this day after day and listen all the time if all you were listening to was the dark, depressing aspect of it. And we never make fun of victims, and we try to actually provide information about victims of crime and things because we've both worked with them. But we have no problem giving a hard time to the dirt bags that create the so I mean,
Base that you jump on their back and run.
right. WWND, what would Nancy do?
I tell that story to so.
I told that story a lot.
I love that story so.
It's totally legitimate. But on that note, you guys came prepared with 3 stories that are locations unknown, full-on typical stories that you tell, and you've already told us maybe the full version previously. I don't know about all of them, but it's maybe 1 or 2 of them. I don't know. But you're giving us an abbreviated version of 3 stories. So we're pretty excited. And so maybe we'll just let you go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
All right. Are we gonna do like music and everything?
I can add that in. Because I know you'll have to share with me your file, your MP3 file for that, your intro music.
I could do this is how we do the show. I do the music live.
Yeah,
Every time you hear that music, I'm actually controlling it live.
Wow.
Oh, all
Wow.
right, Ben.
I'll do the breakdown music just for fun, and I'll leave everybody's mic on. I'll do it for the
Wow,
first
yeah,
one,
do
just so
it.
you can just
Joe
see
is
how
a
it
wizard
Absolutely.
because real quick, there was a couple episodes where he was gone and I was running it all myself and trying to do the episode, and I was pressing all the wrong buttons. And so Joe, credit because he is manning the mother still talking.
That's like flying
That's
a
awesome.
helicopter.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's right.
It's a very important skill that supersedes all other skills in my life. All right, so we're gonna do Terrence Woods. That's Liz Pierce. Is that the first one?
Yep, that's the first
I
one.
have
So
the
all
one
3
open
of these we have done on our show before. Usually we do about an hour for an episode. We've condensed these down so we can get through 3 of them.
I'll do the breakdown music in the first one just for fun. We don't have to continue it. Are you guys ready?
We're ready.
Yes.
I'll do the whole thing. All right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to
All right.
explore locations unknown.
Ooh, I just got chills.
Now we have to wait for a specific part where I start talking. This is behind the scenes.
This is how the sausage is made. I can't believe we
Yeah.
get to see it, Nancy. Look at this.
Yeah, I know.
On October 5th, 2018, 27-year-old freelance filmmaker Terrence Woods abruptly ran down a steep slope near the Penman Mine during a TV shoot and vanished into the dense mountain forest. A large multi-day search found no trace. Conflicting accounts, terrain challenges, and investigative gaps have fueled debate over what happened. Join us this week as we investigate the disappearance of Terrence Woods.
There it is. Yeah.
Wow.
And then
Wow,
slowly
that is
fade the
so
music away
awesome.
as we start talking about the location information. So this story takes place in the Penman Mine in the Oro Grande area within the Nez Perce Clearwater National Forest. It's in Idaho County, Idaho. The base of operations is in Elk City, Idaho, which is approximately elevation of the near site at 6,000 feet.
And real quick, is it Pierce or Purse?
Purse.
I say purse. We have
Purse.
Nez Perce.
Nez
Yeah.
You
Perce.
say it
Yeah.
properly.
I was
Nez
just curious
Perce.
because we have experts on with us.
Oh my gosh, we edit so much.
It's okay.
Hey, like you, we've been getting we get emails about mispronouncing things all the
Okay,
time.
so
Hey,
that feels
hold
good.
on. This is how you know you're starting to make it, when you start getting all the hate mail.
Yes, yes.
Only
Yeah.
winners have haters. We're talking about the Nez Perce National Forest. It is 2.2 million acres roughly and administratively combined with Clearwater National Forest in 2012. Land span from the Oregon border to the Montana border, bounded by the Salmon River to the south and Idaho Panhandle National Forest to the north. Heritage, so it's the traditional homeland of the, I can't pronounce this, Nimipu. The Nez Perce forest name reflects this history. I think I got that right.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Sounds,
Pretty
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's extremely mountainous. The mountains are about 5,000 to 7,000 feet on average in elevation. They're heavy deadfall, so lodgepole and Douglas fir. It creates pickup sticks, quote unquote, conditions that are hard to traverse thick forest understories. So a lot of down trees. It's hard to navigate. Some of the climate or seasonal factors that would occur in early October: cold nights at elevation. Survival without proper gear is difficult. So some of the wildlife in the area, you'll find timber wolves, raccoons, moose, black bear, coyote, cougar, elk, and among other smaller species. So some of the hazards you might run into: steep slopes and cliffs, dense deadfall, hypothermia, and exposure, very limited cell service, sparse population density. There is about 2 people per square mile, as cited by the local sheriff. Rapid weather changes, rain to snow during the search, and navigation challenges. So, Mike, tell us about Terrence Woods.
Yeah. So Terrence, age 27, as of 2018, he was a male, was about 130 pounds. He had black hair that was shaved tight. His occupation, he was a filmmaker, journalist. He did documentaries and reality TV shows, and he had worked internationally in Turkey and also in Alaska. He had some experience in the wilderness. He was on some rugged shoots, but he had never been in this location. We talked about this before the show, but we did this episode in 2020, so quite a ways back, and some of the sources we used actually are no longer available on the internet. But at the time, we had the items were found in a backpack that he left on the job site. So, and according to our sources at the time, the backpack was given back to his parents. So it had camera bags, batteries, Sharpies, over-the-counter cough meds, hand cream, an iPhone charger, a small folding knife, and a stun gun.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So an interesting mix of things. But I could not find any recent sources that mentioned this backpack. So take that with a grain of salt.
I'm going to trust your original investigation because you're very thorough.
I 100% know.
Yeah.
I remember reading a news article with that in it. So I don't know why the article's gone now, but it is. He had no known health or medical conditions prior to this disappearance, according to family members. And recent demeanor. So friends said he had sent pre-trip texts suggesting he didn't really want to go to the site. He was reportedly quiet and acting off. And he'd sent some weird texts back to his father. So we'll get into that in a minute. And post-incident crew feedback. So the production manager later criticized his performance, and some witnesses corroborated the sudden sprint down the slope. So we know that. Going into timeline, again, one of the sources that I used had specific times for the text messages that I'm about to talk to, but more recent articles didn't specifically list the times. So I'll list the times, but just remember that in the back of your head. So timeline starts in fall of 2018. He's hired by the London-based Raw TV production company for a series about Penman Mine. The assignment was from October 1st to mid-November, based out of Montana and Idaho. On September 30th, his father, which is Terrence Sr., drops him at a Maryland airport. We're now in October, so October 1st to October 5th of the morning. So he's now in Montana. He had texted his father that he was in good spirits. In that same time period, on 10/4, so this would have been late evening Idaho time, he had texted his father that he just got to the hotel in Idaho. So we know he's in Idaho. He's near where he's going to be filming. It's now October 5th, about 12:58 a.m. He sends his father a silent video of a canyon river, which is strange for that time of night. Then again, on October 5th at 3 a.m., he calls his father and says he's arrived and is okay. So that would have been the base in Elk City. Then he texts his father again at 5:44 a.m. that now he's saying he's coming home early on Wednesday. So that would have been October 10th. It's now October 5th. It's late afternoon, early evening. He's at the Penman Mine, which Joe said is about 6,000 feet. So while they were wrapping for the day, Terrence said he needs to relieve himself. His radio is later found on the ground, and his production manager sees him already 15 feet down a steep slope sprinting into the forest, and the guy said it was like a hare, so like a rabbit just sprinting into the woods. There was a short pursuit by some of the production crew, but they aborted it to avoid spooking him. And then the crew did some checks by the access road, and they didn't find him, so they reported him missing. So it's now...
So it's wild. He just says, I got to go to the bathroom, and just sprints off into the woods.
Yeah, I mean, I remember covering this at the time, and it was just bizarre. He was kind of fine 1 minute and then just runs down into the woods. So
I wonder what a short chase was.
Right.
When they were chasing him. I wonder if that 10 yards, 200 yards. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the time we had some questions about reports from the crew and what was going on with that. Maybe we can get into that.
I vaguely remember talking about how it sounded like they probably treated him like crap, because even after he's missing, the production manager seemed to like crap on him for how good he was doing. It's like, now's maybe not the time to speak ill of somebody who's missing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so later that day, same day, October 5th at 6:41 p.m., we got a 911 log that notes a male, 27, on the London-based TV crew having a really hard time emotionally and not going to respond back to responders. So they must have called 911 at some point after he had run off. And then between October 5th, that evening, and October 11th, there was a very large search and rescue operation that went on. It was multi-county. They had ATVs, horses, multiple dog teams. They had a helicopter with heat sensing equipment. And like Joe mentioned in the location profile, it's extremely rugged. It seems like every time we cover one of these cases, the weather is always bad. So they had rain and high elevation snow, which hampered a lot of the air operations. But they didn't find any tracks in the snow, or at least none were reported. And then by October 11th, the search was scaled back after a week of finding nothing. And then I just have a few notes on during and after the search and rescue operation. So the crew reportedly entered the production's manager's room to collect clothing for dogs, and they checked his room status. There was never a subpoena issued for Terrence's phone records or laptop history. And the sheriff later opined search and rescue teams believed Terrence likely reached the road and left the immediate area, but then others doubted anyone could run out given the deadfall densities. So, and there's a strange thing going on in this part of the country too. So around this time, on October 5th, only 4 hours later, 76-year-old Connie Johnson was reported missing near Fog Mountain. And then on October 7th, Jose Menendez Morales, he was 42, was overdue en route to Elk City, and his last contact was in September 25th. And on April 2018, 4 hunters went missing. 2 were recovered and 2 were still missing. So a lot of disappearances in this area, probably due to how rugged and remote it is. Or, yeah,
Something more sinister.
real quickly, I'll go just high-level theories, and then we can open the floor. So law enforcement suggested it might have been intentional disappearance or a mental health crisis. Family believed it was foul play, and other possible scenarios that we talked about at the time was maybe an acute crisis leading to kind of a voluntary flight. Maybe, if he had a mental health breakdown, maybe there might have been some kind of suicidal issue, or it could have been accident injury. He ran off and then was injured and just was never found. Obviously, there's possibilities of animal involvement, but deem that pretty unlikely. And the deep end theories was maybe homicide by one of the crew or a third party, or kind of, this one was really interesting. It's called Call of the Void. So it's sometimes invoked in wilderness disappearances. So it's kind of, I think at the time we talked about how, sometimes when you're on a high ledge, you're not going to actually jump off, but that thought might just cross your mind briefly, because it's just like a strange psychological thing that happens in people. And this also happens, I guess, in the wilderness, and they actually, psychologists call it Call of the Void. So it's a strange thing that happens to people when they're in really remote situations, and they kind of get this strange urge of them to just kind of run off. So we said that was just a very less likely theory. So I don't know. What does everyone think?
I have a theory.
Okay.
And mine's kind of out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's how far out there, but I'm thinking foul play. But so I contacted a friend of mine was the special agent in charge for the BLM in that area. This is Forest Service, but he dealt with the same kind of country in that area where all the mines are and stuff that they had to deal with. And he said that they had issues with, this was on the BLM was where he worked, but it's the same thing in the Forest Service. They have issues with, occupancy, trespass. So like people still have mineral rights to a lot of those, mineral claims in some of those mines, but they're not allowed to live there. But people come in and they build their little shanty cabins and homestead, and are there illegally. And so I imagine that happens a little bit in the Forest Service as well. And one of the first thing I thought of was maybe he was running straight into almost like when you run into a marijuana grow or something like that, but maybe not that, but something where somebody's homesteading, they've got a claim on a mine. And also, I kind of hate saying this, but that part of Idaho, and similar to the Panhandle, a lot of sovereign citizens, a lot of there used to be Aryan nations, and they got rid of Aryan nations, or not as big anymore. But there's still a lot of that white supremacy. And this was a young man of color, right?
Yeah, African American. Yep.
So I don't know. So anyway, I just feel like there might have been some foul play where there was just accidentally ran into something, that he saw something he shouldn't have seen. And then, as my friend put it, he's like, these people know where all the mines are. That good place to get rid of
So I have a
some
question that
situation.
you might be able to answer along those lines. If they had groups like that in the area, would that ever show up in a SAR or police report as like a potential thing? Or like that they say, okay, we investigated or looked in these areas and we stumbled across homesteading situation, or we stumbled across these people?
I don't know
if that would show up in the report or not, or if they would just say we searched this area and he was not found.
Well, if I would think if they interviewed somebody, they would say it. But I mean, if you're talking about the county sheriff's office maybe being the lead law enforcement, so it wouldn't be federal. It wouldn't be a federal law enforcement. It would be because the jurisdiction is proprietary. So anything that happens to a person, it's the state and local that investigate. So they could have said, in their report, they might have said, we interviewed so and so and so and so. I don't know that the state and local cares at all if there are people homesteading, and living there illegally. the Forest Service would care, but I don't know if the state and local would care. So it might not be a big thing to them. I don't know.
Okay.
And if they have a lot of them out there, it might just be too many for them to care about.
Kind of just leave them alone. Kind of
Yeah.
the situation. Like,
Mhm.
we don't bug
Yep.
us, we won't bug you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I really like that theory. I don't think it's that, having you to explain it the way you did, I don't think it's that much of a deep end theory.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Picture some guy like way out off the grid, maybe kind of a little crazy, and some random person in the middle of the night comes running into his air quotes property.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could easily see him getting spooked and shooting him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh no,
What have I done? Yeah.
no one saw me do this, so let's just clean this up and act like nothing happened.
And
I
like
need
she
to-
said, they know where all the holes are. So
An abandoned mine, perfect
Yeah.
place to
yeah,
dump something.
That is
Yep.
terrifying to think of.
Yeah.
It's like if you just accidentally stumble upon something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of those people are very territorial.
Yes.
yes.
There's a reason they're not integrated in society.
Correct.
Well, even sovereign citizens as for law enforcement to deal with sovereign citizens, it's even hard for a lot of times the only law they recognize is from that of the sheriff. But even then, they probably don't want to deal with them either. It's probably like, I don't want to deal with them.
I know my rights.
Yes,
That's right.
exactly. I
How many
know
times
my
you guys
rights.
heard that one,
Yeah.
and then they
Yes.
immediately spout off things that aren't rights.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that's mine. I don't know what else you got.
It could be a grow also. I mean, he could have walked into a big marijuana grow or something like that. And they're very protective, because a lot of times their families are back in Mexico, and if they don't produce, bad things happen to their families.
Mhm.
So, I've been involved with some of those grows, and you raid a camp, and there's high powered rifles and things like that in the camp. That one it's not far fetched to have that happen either. So that's also a possibility.
So
Nancy
it's a
and I
little
go straight to foul
terrifying.
play.
That's
I was
right.
gonna say it's a little terrifying with you both being former Rangers and having experience immediately jumping to, oh, it's probably this.
It's foul play. We know it's foul play.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
No, but having them describe it does
It makes more sense.
it makes more sense. to me.
100%
Yeah.
it does.
I mean, I can definitely. To your point, if you're running one of those operations and your whole family's life depends on
Yes.
producing, you will do whatever it takes
Yeah.
to not cause any problems and continue producing. So that either means like getting rid of this strange random person that just walked into it, or my family dies.
Yeah.
I could see why, if he stumbled upon something like, especially in the middle of the night, like probably game over.
That's why I'll never bushwhack.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say trails.
Yes. So I know I like both theories.
I changed
All right.
my. I don't even remember what my
I don't
theory was.
Okay.
I like
Alrighty.
both theories, so that was
I
great.
think mine was kind of went crazy and got lost, and then they just couldn't find him.
I mean,
or like he fell in some sort of cavernous hole or something.
there's still the question of what happened to him to cause him to just sprint away from the
Yeah.
production crew.
Yeah,
into the middle of
exactly.
nowhere.
I think what you were saying before was based on his texting habits, and there's some mental thing going on.
Yeah, or the crew was so bad to him that he kind of broke down and he's like, I just got to get out of here. Maybe he thought I'll sprint down to the road and hitchhike back in the town or something. I can't stand another hour here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then right
Yeah.
into a grow.
Yeah, or
Or
Sovereign.
sovereign citizen. Or
Yeah.
a sovereign citizen homesteading his grow.
There you
know,
go.
it was
That's
all-
right.
And his clandestine meth lab on the side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I know. I think both those theories are.
I feel like if they
Plausible.
found that in the search, it would be on the report.
Oh, that's true.
The
That's
searcher's
we'd probably
like-
heard about that. Yeah.
Like walking up and seeing it off the distance, like, hey, Bob, did we already search this area? Yeah. All right. Well, let's
Right. Hey, but you know what? They're good at hiding those things too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, I hope that someday they get answers and I hope that whatever happened wasn't so horrific and torturing and
Yeah.
to this young man.
Yeah, that's the hardest part of the cases where there's no remains or anything found because the family doesn't get any kind of closure from it. At least if remains are found, it's kind of like, all right, sadly, we know what happened.
Yeah.
You're
But
right. Yeah.
to this
Yep.
day, they're still probably, they have no clue what happened to them.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the hardest part for these where they just kind of vanish.
That was a good story. Thank you.
That was one of my favorite from back in the day because it was just so puzzling what happened to him. It
Yeah.
just, on a product, and it was the guy that was the host of the show is from he's been on the other show back in the day that I used to watch all the time, Gold Rush.
Yes.
On
Yeah.
Channel.
Yeah.
Dave Turin was the guy who was kind of the host of this show that they were filming. And so it was kind of tied that into it as well. Very
It's a
interesting.
bit nostalgic for you.
The show's still on.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
All right. Should we go into the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I don't have to do the music on this one.
Right.
So this one's going to take us to Mountain Time in Rocky Mountain National Park. So on Wednesday, September 27th in 2023, 49-year-old trail runner Chad Palanche set out on a demanding 28-mile route in Rocky Mountain National Park. Intending to cross the Continental Divide with stretches of off-trail talus, around noon, he texted that he was near Mount Alice. He never checked in later and was reported overdue on September 28th. A large multi-day search and rescue operation found no confirmed clues. Broad-scale search was suspended on October 10th in 2023, and the case remains open in limited and / continuous mode to this day. So a little facts about Rocky Mountain National Park. It is 415 square miles or 265,000 acres. It was established on January 26, 1915. It is located in north central Colorado between Estes Park and Grand Lake, and the Continental Divide does run through the park. As of 2022, it sees about 4.3 million visitors per year. Updated to 2024, 4.15 visitors, so down a little bit. And notable route features, this was Chad's plan. Areas mentioned by NPS as possible travel corridors include Lake Verna, Mount Alice, Chief's Head Peak, Black Lake, Mills Lake, Flat Top Mountain, and his vehicle was found at the North Inlet Trailhead on the west side of the park. So some of the hazards that you'd run into, there's a very high relief. So it goes from 7,860 feet to 14,259 feet. There are steep talus, cliff ridges, lingering snow and ice at elevation. Trail Ridge Road tops out at 12,183 feet. So there's rapid weather shifts and strong winds are common in the area. Getting into some of the climate, it's alpine / subalpine mountain climate with frequent year-round storms at elevation. Our friends at the Köppen Climate Classification System called it subarctic conditions, characterized by high zones, extreme snowfall events that occur when cold Arctic air meets Gulf moisture along the Front Range. Mike, tell us about Chad.
Yeah, so Chad was 49 years old at the time of his disappearance. He was a male, 5'7", 155 pounds. He had brown hair, blue eyes. His experience, he was a very fit, experienced trail runner. Had done numerous Rocky Mountain National Park routes, and he's done 30 ascents of Long's Peak, and this was per National Park Service. And like Joe mentioned, his planned route and gear, so it was 28 miles. He crossing the divide with some off-trail talus. Likely, he had a black ultra-light jacket, black running shorts, leggings, gray waist pack, and he did carry a GPS, but it did not have the SOS capability. Timeline. So it starts off Wednesday, September 27th of 2023 around noon. He texts his family, indicates he's near Mount Alice. By Thursday, September 28th, he was reported overdue, and pretty quickly, rangers find his vehicle at the North Inlet Trailhead on the west side. By Friday, September 29th to October 1st, the search and rescue operation expands. They had assets in the air. They had ground teams on the west side and east side of the divide around Mount Alice. So again, they had some high winds that actually hampered the air search around that time. By Saturday, October 7th, this would be day 10, there were 77 people involved in the search, 3 dog teams. They had a state drone team. and they had additional high-res imagery equipment on a helicopter, and they were kind of doing aerial overviews of the area where they thought he could be. But sadly, by Tuesday, October 10th, broad-scale search was suspended, and like Joe and I always mention, in a lot of cases, even though they ramp down the search, it continues in a limited mode. So from other cases, sometimes the National Park Service will do training operations in areas where someone went missing, just maybe in the chance that they find something during that. So, it's in a limited, continuous mode. And like I said, the case remains open to this day. Human remains were found near the Alpine Visitor Center in June of 2025, but they were identified as a different individual. So that is also kind of terrifying that someone else's remains were out there that they found.
Oh, I thought there was only 2 people missing, Chad and one other who supposedly wasn't near that area. So that's I'd heard remains were found, but I didn't hear what they.
Yeah, this individual's name was Stephen Noto. I don't know if that's
Yeah, I
ringing a
saw
bell.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but he said it was not linked to this case.
I actually have a question for the both of you. Have you ever been a part of or in service in an area where they've been doing training and found remains or found something related to a case that went cold?
When I worked for the Forest Service, I wasn't there on scene, but one of my employees, a hunter, found a human skull and reported it to the Forest Service, and that was on the in the Buffalo, Wyoming area. So they definitely turned it over to the county sheriff, and then the investigation started from there.
Did
So
you
it
ever find
happens,
out
but
did you ever find out if they found out who it was or?
I can't remember for sure if they found out who it was, but there was definitely human remains that they found in that area.
That's terrifying. I don't ever want to stumble upon human remains.
And so Nancy and I say, "Why haven't we found any human remains?" And we say that all the time. Like other people discover it, and we're like, "Well, how come?" Not that I
How
want
come
to,
we're
but I
not
mean,
there? That's
why
right.
are we
it
seeing
would
them?
be really good for the ratings of the shows.
It
Yeah.
would,
Right?
Yeah.
it would be kind of cool to know that your discovery might close a case.
That's a
Of
better
Yes,
way to look.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a better way. Joe.
That's the way I meant.
Yeah,
And that's what we mean too, of course.
that's right.
Yeah, we all mean the good part.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Real quickly, here's just the plausible theories. So the one that a lot of people at the time said was the most likely was an environmental misadventure. So navigational error, slip, fall in steep talus areas, or exposure from sudden high elevation weather. And this would be consistent with the route difficulty, elevations, and timing.
I'll just say real quick, if people aren't familiar with talus, that's scree. So it's like those really rocky parts where it's broken up, where you're sliding around every time you're climbing on them on a ridge. So
Yes. Another possibility would be a medical event. So sudden illness or altitude related impairment leading to a fall. He was obviously very fit and experienced, and he had no prior medical issues that were released. I mean, it could have happened. Or,
And I gotta tell you, I've talked to a ranger at Rocky Mountain, and he actually had a bear can stashed along the route, so it was used to resupply himself.
okay.
While he was doing this, and he had planned this for a long time. They found that he had videos of a pre-plan,
Yeah.
that he had videotaped different areas. So he definitely was prepared to do what he was going to do, even though he wasn't dressed kind of how we would be dressed,
Yeah.
but he seemed to be prepared to do whatever.
And he wasn't dressed how we dress, but he had done the route so many times. I guess
Correct.
He had
Yep.
an idea of what his body needed to do that.
Right.
So yeah, it's very
Well, I guess,
interesting.
let's just jump right in. What do you two think happened to him? I guess, and you've talked to someone that was at the park at the time too.
Well, and the person that I talked to that was actually on the search, they, when they do kind of a hasty search, right when it happens, and this is what most national parks do. I know we did it in Yellowstone like this, but they send out call for as many people as they can get to come and help do the search. And so they'll have a climbing ranger that is with a special agent, and and a lot of times the climbing ranger is not law enforcement. They're just there as climbing rangers, and so they're used to that terrain and things like that. And the helicopters they had, even though not all of them were up at the same time, but they had a medical ship that was flying around. If they were out and about looking, military, the sheriff's office, just all kinds of trying to do the air operations because, like you mentioned, the terrain it's amazing that they get anybody up there, to do those searches at all because it's a strenuous thing. But I did like what they do have that. What did you call that? Where they were flying around and taking videos of um out of the helicopter.
It
What
was
did
like
you call that?
Clear.
No, it's like an imaging system.
Yes,
Using
the imaging system.
the Paul Miller case, it takes thousands of pictures
Oh, that
every minute.
Yeah, it was like a mosaic.
Yeah,
They run it through probably AI or something, and it looks for anything that would be out of place from the natural environment, like a backpack or a candy wrapper or anything.
or maybe like I don't know, a broken branch or rocks
Yeah.
that have slid. But they have a team of people that's all they do is look at that all day long to try and look and see just what you just said, to see if there's anything out of the ordinary that would lead them in a direction that they could go.
So how often does this initial force that you go out end up finding the person? So when this initial force is called out, do they typically run into the individual they're looking for relatively quickly, or?
That's a good question, and I never asked that.
Okay.
But what do you think, Tara? I imagine that we
Oh,
don't
it's
hear about the cases that they
it's
find the
all
people.
it's all over the place.
Yeah.
It just depends on what actually happened, and like I think Nancy and I said when we were doing your show before, but a lot of the searches that we've been on, there was no conclusion and nobody was found, and most of them were water. But and then there's the bastard search. I'm sure people did a bastard search, which is where you maybe go back to their house or you go to their car or you find their friends, and that's where they're sitting there having a beer and eating a pizza, and you're like, "You bastard." That's why it's called the bastard search. Yeah. So that's literally why it's called bastard search. So you've got somebody doing the bastard search, you've got the people heading out in full force because a lot of times when did you say he was reported missing, or how was he reported missing?
He was reported overdue. So he texted his family on September 27th, and he was reported overdue the next day. And then the following day, on Friday, September 29th, is when the search and rescue mission really started in force. And then that went until October 10th.
On that October 10th, it's really hard for the Park Service to just cut something, cut it off because, it's, but this one was weather. I mean, they got snow and they got some weather that came in, and you can imagine on a 14er in Rocky Mountain, it's not a skip of snow. We're talking some feet of snow. And then it's just dangerous for those that are doing the search to continue to do that. And I was told that in that area that where he went missing, it's a 7 to 9 mile hike just to get to the search area. So
Jeez,
you
okay.
would be exhausted. I would be
Yeah.
exhausted by the time you got to where you needed to start searching for him. So I think that's why a lot of that stuff was done by air, was because it's really taxing to have people hike that much just to get to where they're going to start the search.
Yeah, and they had 77 people out there one day. I mean, that's 77 people you have to make sure come back from the search that day.
Yeah.
It's not just like searching a forest here in Wisconsin, flat ground. I mean,
And they had
The
actually.
weather's no joke, too. I remember doing
Right.
Long's Peak. I couldn't summit Long's Peak because we made it up to Keyhole, and
Yep.
a blizzard hits, and the snow was going up because
Yeah.
it was like hitting the edge of the mountain, and it was literally I looked out
Yeah.
over Keyhole where you got to climb out on this ledge and go around, and the snow was going up in the air from the wind. I was like, all right, we're not
Nope.
doing this. Yeah, I'm like, I have a podcast. I don't want.
That's right. That's right.
No, that's
Yeah.
true. I mean, I've ridden on horseback before, and it's been a whiteout, and I had to trust the horse to get me to the trailhead because I had no idea, where we were. And, the horse knows where the barn is. So thank goodness on that. But
That's
yeah,
interesting. So the horse can navigate without sight, essentially?
he did. Because like I said, I,
That's-
I could hardly see in front of the horse that it was
Dog-
that bad.
Dogs do
They-
that too. I go sometimes with family up into northern Wisconsin grouse hunting, and we'll have either a short hair or when my dad's dog, he has a golden retriever. When it was younger, it would go, and you could get several miles into the woods, and we've been turned around a few times. But as soon as you tell the dog, all right, let's go back to the truck, they know.
Yep.
They will take you back to the truck. Like they know. And it's probably
Yeah.
through smell.
Exactly.
But
So so it's unfortunate that the weather moved in on these guys, and they just had to scale it way back,
Yeah, the
to
type of gear
continue.
he had, with the type of gear he had running, if you get hit with weather like that, it can be very detrimental.
real
Yeah.
quick,
In-
it was interesting.
In a hurry.
The bastard search, because a sidebar here, we recently had a guy in Wisconsin who got convicted. So he left his wife and kids, but the way he did it was he went kayaking on a lake about 3 hours north of here. He's from the suburbs of Milwaukee, and he faked his own disappearance. He flipped his kayak, he used another little dinghy or something to get to shore, and he fled to Eastern Europe. And eventually, the federal government found him and convinced him to come home, and they charged him $30,000 for 89 days of searching. And so,
Good for
That
Wow.
them.
sounds pretty. That sounds
Yeah.
pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah, actually it does.
but yeah, he got convicted, and he has to pay the $30,000 for the search and rescue.
There's one more like that, and this was a few years ago. There's a woman in Iceland in a tour group. Have you guys heard this one where she
No.
ended up in a search and rescue looking for herself?
Oh, I've heard of a drunk guy doing that.
So apparently she had changed her clothing, and the people in the tour group didn't know, so they thought she was missing. So she's with them, and they're like, "We're looking for somebody wearing these clothes," and she didn't realize that's what she was wearing.
Wow.
So she was a part of her own
Oh my.
search. And then eventually, I guess
Aw.
she realized it and found herself.
Oh,
Oh wow.
that's a good story.
Yeah.
So, I guess to wrap up, Chad, do you guys feel that he probably just slipped and had some
Yes.
kind of accident? And it's
Yeah,
so
I
rooted
do.
they probably won't find remains.
Yeah, I think wasn't there a park ranger that the same thing happened, went missing, and they found him a couple of years later in Rocky, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we might have covered that case. Was he
Oh.
a long-standing park ranger, like
Yeah.
30 years?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I remember that. Yeah, he might have.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I think he was found just by another hiker, right? Eventually, or
Can't remember
now.
who found
I
him,
can't
but I
remember.
know
Yeah.
I know he was found. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I
So-
think for me, this one is he probably had a slip or in a fall, and it's so rocky and just like you said, they can't send rangers down every little crevice and look.
Yeah.
There's just no way. And if he's obscured by, if he fell and then maybe some rocks and stuff fell or snow fell on top of him, then you're not going to see him from the air when they do the aerial searching.
For sure.
I think this one was, sadly.
And he was in a popular area. I was
Mm.
told that was a popular hiking trail that he was on, but he did go off trail, like you said, into the talus. So maybe something at that point. Yeah, it's hard
Yeah.
to say.
What did you?
That's the ending of our cases.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is why it's like that's why we end our show. We're like, and let us know what you think. All right, let's move on to our third and final case we're going to cover, bringing us to Sierra National Forest. On July 2020, hikers in Sierra National Forest in California found an abandoned, ransacked campsite near Johnson Meadows. Days later, multiple hikers reported a barefoot, bruised woman who refused help. Her car was later found crashed on a remote forest road. Weeks after that, a sleeping bag believed to be hers turned up just inside Yosemite. A subsequent hunter sighting again described a woman matching Sandra. Despite multi-agency searches, no confirmed trace was ever recovered. The case remains open today. Talking about the case of Sandra Johnson Hughes. This one takes place in Sierra National Forest, Western Slope, Central Sierra Nevada, California. The sub area is Johnson Meadows, beautiful but isolated, not typical for casual hikers. So this is about 1.3 million acres. It's slightly smaller than Delaware. Borders Yosemite National Park, Inyo National Forest, and Kings Canyon National Park, as well as Sequoia National Forest. It was established in 1893 and sees roughly 1.05 million visitors per year. A little history of the habitation of the area. Human presence has been there for at least 13,500 years. So Paleo-Indian and the Clovis people, there's evidence that they were there, as well as later indigenous cultures. Our friends at the Köppen Climate Classification System say it's a Mediterranean, cool/wet winters, warm, dry summers, the wettest band at 5,000 to 6,000 feet on west slope. Summer thunderstorms are common, rapid weather shifts possible year-round. A little information about the terrain, from oak foothills to dense mid-elevation forests and alpine high Sierra. Elevations from 900 feet all the way up to 13,900 feet, which is Mount Humphreys, Mount Gab, Bear Creek Spire, and Red Slate Mountain. A little bit about the hazards and difficulty. Again, weather, sudden storms, hail, lightning, snow possible at any month at elevation, and high water during the snowmelt. Some of the wildlife you'll run into: black bear, mountain lion, coyote, bobcat, foxes, rattlesnake, and other animals. And just in general, there's remote roads and trails, off-trail talus or brush, navigation challenges. It's standard backcountry precautions. So you want to be sharing your itinerary, wearing extra layers of food, bring water, map, compass, and always cautions while stream crossings. And lightning safety is an issue when you're exposed, as well as the effects of altitude. So Mike, tell us about Sandra.
Yeah, so Sandra, date of birth, July 26th of 1966. She went missing on July 4th of 2020. She was a female, age 54. She was 5'3", 150 pounds. She had brown hair, and it was possibly dyed blue at the time. She had brown eyes. So we do not have a reporting of the gear or clothing she was wearing at the time of her disappearance. Background and experience: so she was an accountant by trade. She did study wilderness survival and once considered becoming a park ranger. Personality: she was described as independent, would frequently refuse assistance, but practical. Obviously, she would accept help if seriously injured. She did live kind of a nomadic lifestyle, and she had recently moved from Maui to California. During the research, there was no medical issues that we could find, so assuming a pretty healthy individual. Timeline: so we're starting June 26th of 2020. She had told family she was going to solo hike and camp in the Sierra National Forest and might reach Yosemite. Like I said, she recently moved from Maui, and she sought solitude during the pandemic. On July 2nd of 2020, hikers discovered a disheveled camp near Johnson Meadows. Gear was strewn about. The Madera County Sheriff's Office was notified and later confirmed personal items belonged to Sandra's. July 4th of 2020 now. So this would be the last confirmed sighting. So she was near the Chiquito Lake Trailhead in Sierra National Forest. She was barefoot. She had a facial bruise. She had a black shirt on, blue jeans, and she declined help. Notes from the law enforcement reports also mention motorists offering help after a low-speed crash, and she walked away. So very interesting that a couple different instances she could have been rescued from whatever happened to her. It sounds like a car crash, and she refused. So it's now July 5th of 2020. This is when her vehicle was located. So she drove a silver Saab 9.5 and was found on road 5S04. But a family post actually mentioned it was 5S70. So a little bit of conflicting information there. It looked like a low-speed impact, according to law enforcement. No airbags deployed. The car did roll into a ravine, but there was no reported blood. Contents were rummaged and strewn, kind of similar to what happened to the campsite. A note was left on the windshield for Sandra, and the area around the car was searched, but found no sign of her. By July 8th of 2020, this is when the search and rescue operation really started to ramp up. The MCSO would lead a multi-agency search with county search and rescue teams. Cal OES and California Air National Guard for aerial searching. On July 12th of 2020, this would be when the sleeping bag was discovered. So a sleeping bag believed to be Sandra's was found 2.5 miles north of the car inside Yosemite near Spotted Lake. And according to searchers, it appeared that it was recently used. Again, extensive searching of the area yielded no additional evidence. So, the campsite, then the car, then the sleeping bag all kind of showed that she was moving north based on what searchers had said in the report. So you can kind of get a general idea that she was kind of the rough direction she was going. By July 13th of 2020, the Air National Guard now had brought in a Black Hawk to assist with the aerial searching. Unfortunately, by July 20th of 2020, the search is scaled back. So the search went on for about 2 weeks, and the case moved kind of into an investigation, limited search mode. The public was asked to watch areas around that lake, the Chain Lakes Basin near the Yosemite border. Now, this is interesting. On August 9th of 2020, we have a hunter sighting. So 2 hunters reported a woman matching Sandra along Road 5S01 near Basor Road and Portuguese Creek. She was thinner, alone, no visible gear, and again, declined contact. When law enforcement heard this, they mobilized and did a search of the area. But again, they did not find anything. So very bizarre. And by late 2020, unfortunately, there was the creek fire. And pretty much a lot of the area that was searched initially was burned in the creek fire. And so any chance of kind of going back out there and doing more searches was kind of, that possibility was over due to the fire, unfortunately. Then on July 21st of 2021, there was this reported spooky meadow incident. So family on an outing near Shut-Eye Peak, which is 5 miles south of Johnson Meadows, reported their child describing a woman in a black shirt, blue hair, needing help. Deputies escorted the family to the site. And again, after searching the area, no tracks or evidence were found. And to this day, the case remains open. So this is a very, very strange case. So real quick theories, and then we'll open the floor. So law enforcement found no evidence of serious injury or was detected during the search, and given her wilderness skills, they assumed she could be alive and continued searching accordingly, which was later scaled back. Other plausible scenarios, so obviously we could have had injury, a head injury from the vehicle crash could have caused her mental state to be changed. Intentional avoidance, maybe she was avoiding contact. It kind of, how she kept declining assistance kind of maybe could lead to that theory. She could have been deciding to voluntarily long-term live in the backcountry. She was described as nomadic. Again, this goes back to what you guys were talking about in the first case, encounter with illegal activities. So maybe stumbling upon a grow operation. Obviously loss or misadventure. And maybe she had an undiagnosed mental health condition, and maybe the car crash caused something to snap, and that led her to kind of wander off into the wilderness. But very bizarre case. And multiple times she could have been rescued by people, and she looked like she was in distress, bruised face, looked lost, and declined. And over multiple weeks, she was seen at different times. So very interesting. What are your theories with this one?
I don't feel like there was foul play. In my thoughts are like, I don't feel like there was foul play. The fact that, she's last heard from her last seen on July 4th, that's a crash. Then all these other things happened and continued to happen. And then all the way into when the hunters said they ran into her. But you're going to think I'm crazy when I say this. It's okay. Fast forward into the spooky incident where the boy saw, and I really don't know, can't say that she was deceased or not, but I wonder if those hunters, I'd like to hear more about what the hunter said. Did they actually have a conversation with her? Was it from a distance, like, hey, what's that woman doing there walking barefoot with bruised and really skinny? Or what that was because, I almost feel like maybe that was a spooky situation as well.
Yeah.
Maybe, what the little boy saw, they also saw. I know that sounds crazy. I'm open here. I'm just open.
X-Files episode. Yeah, I don't think
I
so.
know, I know. But I feel like maybe at some point head injury slash I mean, if she had bruises on her, then there was some injury.
Mhm.
And if she had head injury, then she could have been acting erratic. And I did read somewhere that maybe some of the items you said she had was a birth certificate and a social security number was with her, like physical. I don't know if I
I
read
didn't
that
mention
last
it
night.
here, but that might be possible. I didn't have that in the summary of this, but yeah, that could have been possible.
The last I was on an incident where there was a deceased person and he had his birth certificate with him, social security. He had papers that said he was in the military, and he, unalived himself, as they say on other podcasts, I guess. Or it's believed that he purposely died of exposure because he just sat down in the snow. We found him by seeing a human jawbone, and we skied around, until we actually found the rest of him, but this was in the winter. So, I thought that was strange that her belongings were but if she was just being nomadic, you'd think that would be in the car, but maybe if she crashed the car see, I'm really going off now. If she crashed the car, she probably like, "I don't wanna leave my birth certificate and everything there for somebody to find." So maybe there was nothing to that. But that just seemed odd to me. That
You
might
know,
have been in her.
and also she could have, if she got in that car accident and hit her head, she definitely could have been altered mental at that point. And, and it could have been something medical. I had one, at Mount Rushmore where a guy was living in a small cave inside the park or just outside the boundary of the park. And, when we found his body, there was pill bottles. They were empty. They were cardiac drugs.
Oh.
And it was just an empty pill bottle. So could identify who the man was. And, you went with that assumption that he had a heart attack. He ran out of his medication and he had a heart attack. So something medical could have happened to her. And if she did die, then she could have got burned over, in the fire because you can't outrun a forest fire. So it's, if she was in that area, she could have got trapped in that also.
Yeah, that was also the weird thing about this case is that the creek fire happened and pretty much burned maybe any evidence that might have been out there of her disappearance is most likely gone now.
Right.
So
My opinion is kind of what you just said. I feel like that accident may have not been a large one, but if she had bruises, did it say if it was like on her head or where she was bruised?
I mean, it was a
forget.
slow
Her
impact.
face.
Yeah, on her
face. Going along, you can get a concussion still.
Yeah.
And some of I looked it up now because I remember doing it then. Some of the things that can occur with a concussion, you can have disorientation, amnesia, difficulty concentrated, slow thinking, memory issues, feeling dazed or foggy, emotional changes. So you can have mood swings and irritability. So if you have somebody who has survival instinct in nature, is nomadic, hitting your head, and this is, I'd say, like a perfect storm situation, but you get into this mode where you just kind of go in your default, and maybe she just went off in the woods knowing, oh, I know how to survive out here, not rationally because you're injured. And then if you're running into people and you're having those mood swings, you're irritable because you're malnourished, you have this injury, you're just not going to be acting yourself. And she just kind of weaved her way through all these interactions into the woods and then eventually died of exposure.
Yeah.
Or a brain bleed. I mean,
I was just going to say that too.
A slow brain bleed or something.
Yeah.
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 And then I can see why, because of the fire and scavengers, black bear, wolves, well, not wolves there, but coyotes or whatever they have. I mean, they can deal with that in pretty short order.
Yeah.
And then maybe her clothing and other items. But yeah, again, I do feel like maybe the hunters did not really see what they thought they saw. That's
And the little boy
my
didn't, because
opinion.
that would have been a whole year of her living out there,
You're right.
like minimum
Right.
gear and food
Yeah, very highly unlikely.
through the winter.
Yeah.
Is probably
Odds of survival
pretty
are
rough out
super
there.
low.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he described her as having blue hair and whatever described her clothes, and said, I think I read that her legs were up in the air. That was whatever the boy described, which didn't make any sense, but a very
I'm a ghost.
It's a
That's what I-
ghostly. That's a ghostly
that's what I'm
description.
saying. It
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
ghostly description. He was 3 years old.
That's spooky.
Yeah, the age where you don't really have a reason to lie.
Yeah,
Can't make up stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That was such a is interesting. When y'all gave that story to us to look at, I'm like, okay, that story right there. It was so interesting to me. And I did call somebody from Yosemite 2 nights ago, and they didn't have much to add because it was barely just, I think the sleeping bag was in the park, so Yosemite
Yeah.
wasn't involved as much as the other local folks were.
yeah. No, yeah, very I mean, and this case is one of hundreds kind of similar with they're just every case has just weird aspects where Joe and I will be talking a theory and we think we have one theory down, but then there's like one or two data points in the case that don't make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
It can't really
Yeah.
be that theory. And then you're like, maybe it's this
See,
theory.
that's why the joke is like they're always missing. It's obviously the same thing, but yeah, there's always just this like weirdness to each one that they are so different in their own right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just you can't. And there's so many variables out in. I mean, you've managed parks and worked on. They're huge. They're so huge. People can hide drug operations in them and almost
Yes.
never be found. Like
Yeah.
so, there's so many variables that go in here. You really can't imagine like fully what could have happened. And that's I think what's so fascinating about a lot of these cases is your imagination has to do most of the work.
And the counterpoint, because we say this sometimes too, millions upon millions of people go hiking in all the parks and come out safe. So
Do they?
Right.
So, and I think it might have been one of you on one of the other episode we did. The vast majority of people that go missing are found within a couple hours.
Yeah.
It's usually
Right,
just
yeah.
someone that went down the wrong trail or something.
Mhm.
Correct. Yeah.
So these are very rare based on the millions of people that go. But
Oh,
When
Yes.
are they?
yeah, but when they do happen, they're so bizarre, interesting. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Definitely bear sharing these stories for sure.
Yeah. So, well, that's kind of what we do on
Right.
our show.
That's
Do
awesome.
that, and then after we just kind of are awkwardly staring at each other, like, "Hey, we don't know what's going on." I'm gonna slowly turn. I just slowly start doing this, and we just fade out so that we kind of tell something.
Well, I was gonna say, so where can people okay, most people locations are known, but what are all the socials that you're on? Like, where can people find you and follow you, and how do they support you?
The most important would be our LinkedIn page.
Absolutely not. LinkedIn is a weird place.
I just think,
that
"Wait,
page-
Dan, we don't do that."
No, you don't need to do that.
We don't-
I built a LinkedIn page for the podcast more as like I thought it'd be funny to constantly say our true crime
Yeah.
podcast is a LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
I don't even update it. I
I
haven't
don't
updated
either.
in a long time.
We're on all of them. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Joe is our resident TikTok editor.
Oh.
So
I haven't done any of it in a while. I gotta get back.
we have a YouTube channel where we post the video versions. So those are the main places you can find us. We do have a website. Technically, we have two right now. We have our old website, locationsunknown.org.
Did we buy the .com yet?
Yeah, we have it.
Oh,
So we have the .com now.
See how caught up I am.
Yes.
I'm so used to the .org for years. We finally bought the .com.
Yeah,
All right.
a company was like squatting on it and went.
Oh.
They wanted a lot of money for it, and we eventually convinced them.
You wore them down. That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, wore them down like $5 at a time per year.
I had a reminder set up in my email to email the guy every year at the same time and ask him if he wanted to sell it. I said, we have all the other social media, everything around it. No one's going to ever want to buy this other than us.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We'll make a
firefighting,
deal
we
you
call
can.
that surround and drowned.
All right. Well, thank you very, very, very much. We really appreciate it. I'd love to do it again sometime. I think it'd be great.
Absolutely. We're gonna have you back on our
We'll
show.
have
We
you
had
come on
yeah, we
ours.
had so much
All
fun
right.
just in the live show that we'll have to do another episode. It's a blast.
Yeah,
I would
we
like
had
to do
fun
the
too.
same thing, but with cases you guys cover, because you guys do completely different type of cases too,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
would be really interesting to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we'll do it.
We're happy to do it. Also, hey, can I just say right quick, Halloween. I don't know what you guys do Halloween. We are going to be doing a live show in Yellowstone with at Mammoth Hotel. So if you have nothing else to do Halloween, come to Yellowstone National Park. If we can figure out how to live stream it, we'll live stream it. But we've got a really true, crimey and spooky story that we're going to be sharing. Anyway, it's gonna be a fun time in Yellowstone, Mammoth Hot Springs.
Excellent. We'll try it.
All
We'll
right.
work with you off air to try and figure out how to get you to live stream that. How about that?
Yes.
right,
Oh,
sounds
that
good.
would be
Yes,
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
definitely.
I mean, you are
All right.
part of our network. We should
Yeah.
probably
That's
help figure
right.
this out, right?
No, I
Yeah.
think we could easily help you both to get that live stream.
That's
I think
right.
that'd be really cool to live stream.
Yeah.
if you-
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
it would be.
Thank you. You guys are like our daddies. Like you're somehow reverts. I don't know how that would work out, but you're our daddy figures or something, I guess.
All right. If it's all right,
Okay.
I'll
I
take
would
it.
love to come out to Yellowstone, but I think this is the first year we're taking Claire trick or treating. So
Oh,
it would look bad if I missed that.
And my sister's getting married on Halloween.
Oh my gosh,
Oh
she
my
must be
gosh.
so fun. Oh, she must
She's
be
a lot of
fun.
fun. Yeah, absolutely. So otherwise,
That
I
is funny.
100% would have came out.
But I might be, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
I would
all right.
come out if I didn't have to go trick or treating.
Well, they're gonna have trick or treating there too as well. They're gonna decorate
Yeah,
all of
bring her.
the
Bring the whole
cabins
family,
and
Mike.
Mhm.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right, Mike.
All right. Okay, everybody. Well, stay safe in wild places and watch out for the company you keep.
And if you see something, say something.
I know you guys have a tagline.
Oh, Joe, you do it.
Always remember to leave no trace.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.